You won't believe what just happened in my neighborhood. A woman from the HOA, someone who's been making my life miserable for months, crossed the line in a way that I never expected. She poured paint on my disabled daughter right in front of our house. Yeah, you heard that right, paint. Imagine the shock, the rage, and the disbelief. But it doesn't end there. You see, what this woman didn't know is that I'm not just some ordinary guy. I'm a county sheriff, and when she picked the wrong fight, she had no idea who she was messing with. It all started when we moved into this peaceful neighborhood. We were just looking for a fresh start, but it didn't take long for certain neighbors to start causing problems. The HOA had a reputation for being overly controlling, but this woman in particular took it to a whole new level. No matter what I did, she was always there, looking for something to complain about. But I never expected her to go this far. What happens next will leave you speechless. The situation escalates, and I'm faced with a choice. Do I take matters into my own hands, or do I let the law do its job? You won't want to miss how this all unfolds. Stay tuned. To understand why this situation hits so hard, you need to know a little about my daughter. She's disabled, and like any parent, I do everything I can to protect her. She has challenges that many people can't fully understand, and I try to make her life as comfortable and safe as possible. Our home was supposed to be a place where she could feel secure, a place where she could be herself. But that woman, the one from the HOA, seemed determined to make sure that didn't happen. It wasn't just about rules for her. No, it was personal. She'd knock on my door constantly, nitpicking every little thing, from the garden to the color of the mailbox. I tried to keep my distance, but every time I thought we were in the clear, she'd find something else to make a fuss about. And yet, despite all the complaints, I always tried to stay calm. After all, I was a sheriff, and I was used to handling high-stress situations. But this time, it was different. That day, though, was a tipping point. I had just finished putting my daughter to bed when I saw her. This woman, standing at the end of my driveway. I didn't think much of it at first, but then I saw the bucket in her hand. It all happened so fast. Before I could react, she threw the paint at my daughter, and it splattered everywhere. The shock, the horror. I knew I had to do something. But what? My heart raced as I rushed toward my daughter, who was now standing there frozen, covered in paint. Her eyes were wide, and she didn't even know how to react. She looked at me, then at the woman, and I could see the confusion and fear in her expression. It hit me hard. This wasn't just a petty HOA dispute anymore. It was an attack on my family, on my daughter. And no matter what role I had in the community, no one messes with my kid. I took a deep breath, trying to keep my calm. But this was the last straw. I wanted to scream, to lash out, but I knew I couldn't. I knew that what I did next had to be measured, but if I reacted too aggressively, I could make everything worse. But this woman, she didn't seem to care about consequences. As she stood there with a smug look on her face, I could feel my anger bubbling up. Her next words didn't help. "Oh, it's just a little paint. Don't make a big deal out of it," she said, like it was no big deal at all. But I knew something was off. She was acting too calm, almost too sure of herself. Why would she do something like this unless she thought there would be no consequences? Was she really that confident, or was there something more going on here? I had to get to the bottom of it. As I helped my daughter clean up, my mind raced. Who was this woman really? Why had she gone this far? Was this part of something bigger, something I hadn't seen yet? I didn't have the answers yet, but I was determined to find them. And I wouldn't rest until I knew why she felt so untouchable. The days that followed felt like a ticking time bomb. I couldn't shake the feeling that this woman was going to push even harder, but her petty behavior was a front for something far darker. I went through the motions of my everyday life, but every time I looked at my daughter, I saw the aftermath of what had happened. The paint, the shock in her eyes. It wasn't something I could just forget. It wasn't something she could forget. I began doing what I do best, investigating. I went through records, talked to neighbors, pieced together little things that didn't quite add up. Then, just when I thought things couldn't get any more tense, I noticed something chilling. Her house had been unusually quiet for a few days. No lights at night, no cars pulling in and out. I tried to let it slide, but something gnawed at me. So I made a decision. I showed up at her door. No, I wasn't going to confront her yet. I had to know more. I had to see if there was something, anything, that could explain her behavior. What I found next was far more than I ever expected, and it was about to change everything. As I stood in front of her house, the air felt thick with tension. I wasn't sure what I was expecting to find, but something told me that this was going to be the key to everything. I knocked on the door, but no one answered. I could feel my pulse quicken, the anticipation building. I tried the door, half expecting it to be locked, but to my surprise, it creaked open with a soft push. I stepped inside, my sheriff instincts kicking in, sensing something was wrong. The house was eerily quiet, too quiet. The faint smell of something unfamiliar lingered in the air, and the shadows in the corners made everything feel darker than it should. I moved cautiously through the rooms, looking for any sign of what might be going on behind the scenes. Then, in the back hallway, I saw it. A door that had been left ajar, leading to a small, dimly lit room. I approached carefully, the hairs on the back of my neck standing up. As I pushed the door open, my breath caught in my throat. What I saw inside was enough to make my blood run cold. There, scattered across the floor, were piles of paperwork, photographs, and a thick folder marked with my name. It was clear. This woman had been tracking me, my family, everything. But that wasn't the worst part. In the center of the room was a map. My neighborhood was pinned down with red circles, and right in the middle of it all, my house. I froze, trying to piece everything together. She had been planning something bigger than just paint on my daughter. What was she really after? And why me? The pieces were all there, but I still couldn't see the full picture. Suddenly, a noise from behind me snapped me back to reality. I spun around, heart racing. There she was, standing in the doorway, a cold smile on her face. My heart pounded as I faced her, the woman who had caused so much pain for my family. She stood there, her expression unreadable, almost as if she had been waiting for me all along. The silence between us was thick, and for a moment, neither of us moved. I glanced at the map, the photographs, everything she had collected, and then I understood. This was never about the HOA. It wasn't about petty rules or complaints. It was something far more sinister. "I knew you'd figure it out eventually," she said, her voice cold but oddly calm. "You've been a sheriff for years, after all. But what you don't know is that you've been too focused on the wrong things. This wasn't about you. It was about your family." I took a step forward, my mind racing. What the hell is going on? What do you want from us? She smiled, but it wasn't a kind smile. It was a dangerous one. "It's not about what I want. It's about what you've taken from me." I was about to ask what she meant when she suddenly reached into her pocket and pulled out a small, familiar object, a badge. But not just any badge. My badge. The one I'd had in my possession for years. The one that had been stolen. My blood ran cold. I had thought it was lost years ago, a random theft I never managed to solve. But now, standing in front of this woman, it all clicked. She had been the one who had orchestrated the theft, and she had been using that badge as leverage, playing a dangerous game all along. Before I could react, the door behind me burst open, and 2 uniformed officers rushed in, their guns drawn. It wasn't just her anymore. She had allies, people I'd never suspected, and suddenly, everything I thought I knew was upside down. The woman stepped back, her eyes gleaming with triumph. "You're not the only one who can play this game." As the officers handcuffed her and pulled her away, I stood there, feeling the weight of it all. I had thought I was the one in control, the one who had the power. But I had underestimated her, and now I was left wondering who the real puppet master had been all along. Just as they were about to take her out of the room, she turned and whispered one final thing. "You should have never crossed me, Sheriff. This isn't over." And with that, the door slammed shut. The tension in the room lingered, and as the